What is up, Insomniacs? Midnight's on 518 here, back with another upgrade video for Sasha, my 2017 Tacoma. So this one is sort of kind of an upgrade. It's really not. It's more aesthetic than anything. For those of you that have watched any of my overlanding videos and off-roading, that kind of stuff, I know I've mentioned it a few times, but there are buttons on my steering wheel for volume and like changing whatever music track that you have. And for whatever reason, Toyota made the volume up, volume down buttons the right and left, and the next and last track up and down, which doesn't make any friggin' sense, because volume up, you'd think you'd push up, next track, you'd think you'd push right. I don't know. That's kind of how, you know, normal things go. So anyways, we are going to fix that today. So I have for us the Meso Customs volume fix kit is what they call it. And all it is a new circuit board that we're going to install onto the steering wheel, along with like an adapter wiring harness. And then the button itself, it's upside down in the box. But as you can see, volume up is on the top, volume down is on the bottom. Next is to the right, and last is to the left, which will be pretty sick. This shouldn't be super difficult, but I do need to get the car cover slightly off of the Tacoma so I can at least get into it. It's going to take a minute, but hopefully it's fun. It's not going to be fun because it's 97 degrees outside right now. Whatever, here we go. So the first step before doing anything electrical on your 2017 Toyota Tacoma is to start it and get the air conditioning going so that you're not dying from heat exhaustion while you're doing the install. Not really. So the first step is to hop onto the hood and actually disconnect the battery, because we're going to be removing the steering wheel in order to get to these buttons here, and I'll show you them here in just a second. But in order to do that, we got to take the airbag off, and you never want to do anything with your airbag while there's power going to it, because if you jostle it just right, it might go off, and if you set off the airbag, you might end up with a broken arm or a broken nose. So we're going to disconnect the battery, probably just drop the negative lead or something like that. Super easy. And then we will start working on getting the steering wheel disconnected and pulled out. But before we even do that, let's go ahead and look at this from the inside. Don't mind it, it's a little bit dirty, there's dust everywhere. I haven't cleaned the inside of my truck in a very long time, and I need to because I suck. Anyways, so this is what we're looking at right here. This is the OEM kind of button switch or whatever. So we have up and down, right and left are your up and down buttons for the volume, and then the next and last track are top and bottom, which is really weird. The Meso Customs one just rotates that 90 degrees to the left, so that volume up is on the top, volume down is on the bottom, right and left is next and last track respectively. Yeah, so I've never been inside of the steering wheel before, but I can only assume that this right here, which is our like replacement circuit board, if I can get it out. So here's our replacement circuit board, and then so this is probably going to end up on here somewhere, if I had to guess, probably oriented something like that. Actually, I feel like that's exactly how it's supposed to go, because those contacts are going to be associated with that button right there. The other thing is the buttons themselves. I'm trying not to touch any of these contacts, because each one of these right here, yeah, volume up, volume down, seek right, seek left, mode, voice, whatever those other two are. Same here, right? We got the voice, mode, we got mode, and then we got answer and hang up. And here it says off hook and on hook. I don't know, whatever. So the buttons themselves don't have anything on the back, so there's probably a little bit of electrical on the back of here, the little pressure plates and that kind of stuff, so that when we press these buttons it actually actuates something, and we're most likely going to end up translating those from there to here. So I guess we'll go ahead and get the negative terminal of the battery pulled off, and then I'll show you how to disconnect the steering wheel from your car, and then I'm probably going to go inside where it's a lot cooler in order to do the rest of the install. Sweet, so with the battery disconnected and the temperature actively rising in here, let's go ahead and get this pulled apart. So if we look to the sides of our steering wheel here, we've got a little plastic cover. We're gonna go ahead and pull that out with our fingers, and we can see, of course, it's a friggin' star bit. That's cool. So this is gonna be a T30, if you can see that. So just go ahead and get over in there. Now these are capture bolts, which means that they will not come out of the steering wheel. When you unscrew them, there's a little capturing plastic nut thing on the back that keeps them from coming out. So don't worry about them falling out. Don't be trying to take them out. They're supposed to stay in. And then we should be able to pull the airbag straight out, just like that. Now comes my favorite part. We need to get the airbag disconnected. And this is always a pain, like a serious pain in the ass. So these right here, we can get a little flathead screwdriver and get it right up underneath and pull out just like that. But usually an airbag has a second like plug. Oh, never mind, these are fucking easy. Well, for those of you that have watched me do anything on my Mazda Speed, and you saw me doing my steering wheel cover sewing thingamajig, taking this out was a pain in the butt on the Mazda because it did not just slide out like that. So that's cool. And then it looks like we have some sort of a ground plug here. And just like that, your airbag is off. So that's great. Now, the next step here, we have a plug in the center, which undoes from the actual steering column itself. And this will, it looks like we have two of them. We have a little white one here as well. That'll allow us to completely disconnect the steering wheel. And now we have to undo the wheel nut, or the, not the wheel nut, but like the steering wheel nut. I don't know what size this is. I guesstimate, nope, not that. It is a 19 millimeter, which is awesome. And I might actually be able to just pull this like so. I probably need a breaker bar. I do not. And we should be able to just gently remove the steering wheel, just like that. Sickness. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go inside and we'll work on getting these buttons removed and the new ones installed. What we're gonna have to end up doing is we're gonna undo these two and these two screws. And what that should do is release this plastic backing. And once we get that off, we'll be able to gain access. Behind here somewhere is the screw or two that is holding this plate or piece of trim in place, along with the plug going to the actual thingamajig itself. Awesome, so those 4 screws are removed. So we should be able to just kind of gently pull this off. Oop, didn't like that. Oh, interesting. Hey, you remember those capture screws that we were talking about earlier? Well, they come out now because they're not being held in by the plastic. Well, there's a whole lot of dust and grime in here. I'll probably clean it up a little bit. But as you can see, here is the piece that we're trying to get to. So we have a screw right there and a screw right there. And it does not appear that there's any others. And then you can see that circuit board through there along with this plug. So that is the circuit board that we're going to be replacing. And this plug is going to go into our little, our jack piece. Hi, cat. Okay, that happened. So as you can see at that, once those screws come out, you can just pull this out. So it turns out, through trial and error, you only need to remove these 2 screws. Since we're only working on this side, you don't need to touch those 2. Once you remove these 2, you can pull that right out, which is fantastic. And then we have 3 screws on the back here that we're going to go ahead and undo. So let me do that real quick. And then we can go ahead and slide that piece off, and there is the remainder of the thing. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about before, where all of the buttons have these little gold contacts on the back. So that we will not be replacing, they will be staying. And then we will just be replacing that square button on the front. So I guess first, let's go ahead and do the circuit board. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug it from here, and then we're gonna grab the new wiring harness along with the new circuit board, and we're gonna go plug those in together and plug it into the steering wheel. So now that is in place, which is great. We'll figure out how to tuck all this stuff in here later. But, so I want to go ahead and set this aside. There's nothing holding the circuit board in place at the moment. because this isn't in there. So let's go ahead and pull this apart and we'll get that new switch thrown in. Should be pretty easy. I would assume we just kind of like pull that out. Yep. Because it's literally just a piece of like silicone rubber with those gold contacts on the back in order to make that connection. And then my guess is we will be able to just slide this out. Like that. Oh, I see. We're gonna need a flathead, and we'll get a flathead up under right here, and preferably maybe in these two spots, and we'll be able to get it off right there. Give me a second. So I was a little afraid to do it, but if you just grab the top edge or whatever of this button, or I grab these two right here and just pulled straight out, it'll come off. With that, we're gonna go ahead and install the new one, literally in the same way that it's supposed to. You just kind of snap it down in place. And then we've got the little cover for it, which we will then snap into place as well and make sure that's in there real good. And then we'll flip it over, make sure that every one of these white plungers is installed. There should be 4, 5, 6, 7. If you're missing one, it's probably on the floor. So go ahead and make sure those are in there, and then grab your little silicone rubber piece. We're gonna go ahead and rest that back down on top. And with that, we can go ahead and get it reinstalled on top of the circuit board. With a little bit of time compression and editing magic, I went ahead and put this back together for you. So as you can see, I got the new buttons in place. So unfortunately, there's no skipping corners when it comes to installing electronics into your car. If you really wanted to, you could, in theory, plug in all of the things like I'm doing right now, like you should be doing right now. And with everything plugged in where it should be, where the flippin' flap did that ground? Oh, it goes into the airbag. With everything plugged in where it should be, theoretically, if you plug the battery in, it should work just fine. So right now would be a great time to go and test and make sure that everything is working. I'm not gonna do that just yet because I am fairly confident in my work. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the airbag plugged back in. Also, if it doesn't work correctly, it's really not that difficult to take the airbag back out. But go ahead and plug in your ground, plug in these two connections going to both of these and your cruise control, and then also make sure that you put your black in the black and the orange in the orange for your airbag, and press those little yellow tabs down just to be safe. And then before you do something dumb, we're gonna go ahead and install the nut again for the steering wheel. The torque value for this, I'm gonna go ahead and throw up on screen here. So make sure that you get it all nice and tight and torqued down the way that it's supposed to be. It's perfect. That looks to be about the same as the OEM torque value. Awesome. Now we'll go ahead and set our airbag back down in here. Make sure that our little threaded screw inserts. Oh, actually, the other thing is there's these little hooks right here that'll keep your cables and stuff out of the way. So if you press your little cables down into those, then they'll be up and out of the way. Awesome. So now we're gonna go ahead and get our Torx bit back out and retighten those T30 bits. Cool. Let's go ahead and start it and see what happens. Okay, now let's start it and see what happens. Okay, volume up. Volume down. Next track. Previous track. Dude, this is sick. Mute. Ah, it's so cool. Test the horn. Good to go. Everything's working. Turn on that. Sweet. Good to go. Well, there it is. That is the Meso Customs volume adjustment or volume fix install on my Tacoma. I'm really excited. That was one of the major complaints that I had about Tacomas. Obviously there's a lot that are way more major than that. But of all the complaints, that was the one that affected me the most on the day-to-day. So it's really cool to be able to actually be able to volume up by pressing up and stuff. So that wasn't too difficult. Took a little bit of effort, but nothing super crazy. You guys can do this at home in your garage. But if you have any questions, please drop a comment down below. And yeah, if you learned anything or you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe so you can come back and see the future of this build. I'm really excited. Got a lot planned, big trips, lots of fun. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Midnight sign out.